Nike has announced that they will debut a new Pro Hijab line.
The Pro Hijab.
A sports hijab.
Nike Hijab.
Nike Pro Hijab.
Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to be talking about something that's been trending in the news recently. You guessed it, the newly introduced Nike Pro Hijab. Big news agencies such as CNN, The Independent, Huffington Post, and many more have written articles regarding this Nike Pro Hijab, which is a lightweight hijab which makes it easier for Muslim women to perform in sports. Nike announced the news in a tweet on March 8th, 2017. The only problem? There has been mixed reaction to this news, ranging from people who support the innovative idea and people who are now starting to use the hashtag #BoycottNike. Let's just say that there were many varied opinions. A lot of people have praised Nike when they announced the release date for this sports hijab. It would make sport a lot more convenient to Muslim women. On the other hand, others deem the idea supports the oppression of women. This side thinks that by releasing a piece of clothing which allows women with certain cultures and beliefs to perform in a sport, Nike are supporting the oppression of women. That's because they think that requiring women to wear certain kinds of clothing is oppressive. By not making a sports hijab available, would those cultural practices disappear? Would that prevent the perceived oppression of women in Muslim societies? According to Halima Ahmed, writing for Hijab magazine, it's not the hijab that's oppressive, but rather Western stereotypes. This links back to a book written by Edward Said called Orientalism. In this book, Said made the influential argument that scholarly writing from America and Europe presented inaccurate, misleading, stereotyped cultural representation of the East, and stated that when Western scholars studied Eastern culture, they couldn't understand it because it differed from their own. This would explain the perceived oppression of women in some people's eyes. Because Muslim culture differed from their own, they couldn't understand the use of the hijab and deemed it useless. If, like me, you haven't heard of Hijab magazine, it describes itself as a cutting-edge online magazine that seeks to break down perpetuating stereotypes of Africa by telling stories that exemplify the complexity of African identity. Moving on to the news agencies. Just about every news agency has caught on to the exciting news, but I'll start with the four main sources that caught my eye. Starting with the article written by Rachel Hosey and published by The Independent. The heading reads, Nike Hijab enrages right-wing joggers. This heading alone is powerful and is at an angle which aims to catch the eyes of many readers. I stumbled upon it in a tweet made by The Independent and retweeted it myself before realizing that a lot more people than the right-wing joggers would be against this. The title of an article not only tells the reader what kind of article they're about to read, but it sets the tone of it and how the readers remember it too. The New Yorker emphasizes that by the choice of its phrasing, an article can influence your mindset as you read so that you later recall details that coincide with what you were expecting. Other news outlets like CNN, Indy 100, and the Huffington Post have fairly neutral tones in the articles that they have published. For example, CNN's title read, Nike has a new product for Muslim women, the Pro Hijab. Now let's bring in a side that we haven't seen. The Daily Wire implies that it's clearly leaning against Nike's decision from the first two words of the article, monetizing oppression. A negative image is created in the reader's mind, changing both the way they look at the article and how they remember the hijab overall. One strong sentence that the writer uses in the article is, the subjugation of women under patriarchal sartorial codes never looked so good. At the end, they state, Nike now joins a long list of fashion conglomerates submitting to multiculturalism. These two states have not been backed up with sufficient evidence, and can be interpreted as an opinion rather than a fact. When said out of context, this sentence may seem positive. However, there is a negative tint on the article, and it can be taken that the writer may be against multiculturalism as well, and this is a perfect example of Orientalism. To verify the trustworthiness of these articles, I used TrustServista, which is an online software investigation tool that uses artificial intelligence algorithms to determine the origin and trustworthiness of online news. After interpreting each website, the article written by The Independent ended up surprisingly 80% trusted, compared to Indy 100's 50%, Huffington Post's 45%, and CNN's 15%, despite them having the exact same story. I also tried to contact the writers of the articles individually to find out where their stance is in this story to see if I could find a link between trustworthiness level and opinion, but being the busy journalists that they are, they didn't have the time to write back. So, where does that leave us? Nike tried to create sports apparel for Muslim women and got slammed for it. Personally, I support Nike putting out this clothing because it opens up the opportunity for Muslim women who happen to have certain cultural beliefs about what it's appropriate to wear to take part in and enjoy sport. Now, why is that such a problem?